Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Dominick from The Comic Book Report on YouTube, over here doing another guest review for organicpricedbooks.com. Today we're taking a look at the Daredevil Shadowland Omnibus from Marvel Comics. The issues in this volume were written primarily by Andy Diggle, Anthony Johnston, Zeb Wells, and more, and penciled primarily by Billy Tan, Roberto Della Torre, Marco Cacchetto, and more. The comics in this volume were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2009. As far as what this omnibus collects, it collects Dark Reign, The List, Daredevil One-Shot, Daredevil issues 501 through 512, Shadowland issues 1 through 5, Shadowland Elektra, Shadowland Bullseye, Shadowland Ghost Rider, Shadowland Spider-Man, Shadowland After the Fall, Shadowland Moon Knight issues 1 through 3, Shadowland Blood on the Streets, issues 1 through 4, Shadowland Daughters of the Shadow, issues 1 through 3, Shadowland Power Man, issues 1 through 4, Thunderbolts, issue 148 and 149, and Daredevil Reborn, issues 1 through 4. Now, this is an oversized hardcover edition with glossy print paper stock, sewn binding, and a total of 1,112 pages. Taking a look at the front of the dust jacket here, I will say right from the top, this is the direct market cover. There is a standard edition for this release as well. I'll throw up a quick thumbnail so you can compare. I personally love the direct market cover here. I love the kind of Daredevil down the circles. This is lifted directly from the cover of that Dark Reign, The List Daredevil one-shot. I think it's a really visually striking cover. Taking a look at the spine, we have a nice dark background with the red Daredevil lettering, Shadowland. The image on the bottom of my spine is a picture of Elektra. I believe the standard edition might have Daredevil on the bottom of the spine. But yeah, either way, I think this is a really nice spine design. It jumps right off the bookcase, and no complaints from me. I think it's really well made here. The back cover as well is nicely put together here. We have a building with Daredevil's shadow across it. We have Daredevil kind of leaping off a building. Blurb about the book, pricing information, what it collects, and a parental advisory. I believe that advisory is there just for violence, gore, and kind of dark subject matter overall. But yeah, it's a really nice dust jacket design. I have no real complaints here. And speaking of that dust jacket, I want to do one more minute on it. I'll go ahead and open it up, show you the interior flaps that have more about the book, the creators, and some nice characters laid out. I'll go ahead and spread the dust jacket so you can see it all at a glance. Again, for the standard edition, the front cover will be different, as well as the picture on the spine. Otherwise, you're looking at the same dust jacket. I think this is one of the better dust jackets I've seen recently. I really like the design, kind of graphic design, layout. I think everything looks really sharp. Under the dust jacket, the art we have printed on the hardback book is lifted directly from one of the fight scenes in the issues. It is a full wraparound image. We have no text or anything else on the hardback itself, just a full wraparound image, which honestly I think looks rather striking. This is a really fun way to do the art on board, and again, I just think the art direction for this book, how it was put together, is really pretty solid. Honestly, much better than I even hoped. I have no complaints about the build here. And now let's go ahead and transition from the exteriors to taking a quick look at the binding for this omnibus. As I mentioned, it is sewn binding, and I'm happy to report it's one of the best bound Marvel books I've had in my collection in some time. We have a nice big eye, the page is laid just about flat with nearly no gutter loss. Honestly, this was a great reading experience. My book opened so well. And now that we finished that up, let's go ahead and jump into the collection proper. After some red end pages, a title page, we have a total creator kind of mapped breakdown of the book, and then we jump right into the first issue, which in this case is that Dark Reign, The List Daredevil one-shot. From there, we jump right into the Daredevil run, and the Daredevil run, at least the first 11 issues of it, are kind of intermixed with the 5 issues of the Shadowland event. They've kind of mapped it in a way that makes the most logical sense. After Daredevil and Shadowland, or at least through Daredevil 511 and Shadowland, we go into all of the tie-ins. Now these tie-ins, some of them occur before Shadowland, during Shadowland, after Shadowland, but I think it's mapped in the most logical way possible, with the Daredevil and Shadowland issues coming up front, and all of the tie-ins just happening after. We bounce around all of the different tie-in issues before ending with the Daredevil issue 512, which is the last issue of this volume of Daredevil. Then we have the Shadowland After the Fall, which is a nice epilogue to everything we've seen so far. And the omnibus finishes out with Daredevil Reborn, which is the 4-issue kind of redemption storyline that bridges the gap between this omnibus and the Mark Waid run on Daredevil. That's a little bit about how this book is mapped. Like I said, I do think it makes the best sense it could, because if the tie-in issues were put in chronologically, we'd be breaking issues in half, and I think it would be kind of an incomprehensible mess. Versus what we get is most of the Daredevil run and the Shadowland event, and then all the tie-ins, you know at that point where they must take place in the book, and like a lot of other event-based omnibuses, we have the tie-ins after the main event. As far as what the story in this omnibus is about, I'll have to tread lightly to avoid spoilers for this book and the end of the Ed Brubaker run. Suffice it to say, Daredevil is in a position of power he's never had before, but he's dealing with kind of corrupting influences. And after a really tragic event happens near the front of this book, Daredevil is confronted with a darkness he's never faced before. After this occurs, we basically have this event known as Shadowland, which is basically what this entire book revolves around, being a predominantly event-based omnibus, and that event has to do with a castle that's erected in Hell's Kitchen, and we have Daredevil coming to disagreements, let's say, with a lot of the street-level Marvel heroes. What ensues in that Daredevil run and during the events of Shadowland, I'll let you read for yourselves. Suffice it to say, after that, we are treated to all those tie-ins I mentioned, and some of these really tie in really nicely to the events of Daredevil and Shadowland, and some are just really, really tangentially linked and are more just kind of their own stories following their own street-level heroes. What I really like about this book is that if you're a fan of street-level Marvel vigilantes like Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, and more, this is a really cool snapshot of what's happening in the Marvel Universe at that level. This is not Cosmic Marvel, this is not Avengers level Marvel, these are the street heroes and vigilantes. I'd say we have a huge sense of variety in this omnibus as well. While I do think the main core of this omnibus is those Daredevil issues and the events of Shadowland and Reborn, the tie-ins are really nice, like I said, giving that fuller picture of the street-level Marvel Universe. If I have a complaint about this book, I think the biggest would be that some of the tie-ins just take me too far away from Daredevil himself, and I want to treat this as a Daredevil omnibus when I really should think about it more as an event omnibus. Now, I do believe this is the only way to get that Andy Diggle run on Daredevil in oversized hardcover format, so this is the omnibus that you want to pick up if you're trying to fill the gap between the end of the Ed Brubaker era and the beginning of the Mark Waid era. And honestly, to that end, this book is wonderful. As far as the quality of those Daredevil issues and the tie-ins, this isn't my favorite era of Daredevil personally. It's one of the lower points for the modern history of this character, in my opinion. But honestly, reading these issues again when reviewing this omnibus, I honestly looked more favorably at those Daredevil issues. In fact, I think the Daredevil run itself from Diggle was probably the strongest point in this book. I may never truly love the direction of the Shadowland story, but that doesn't mean this didn't have some really great moments. And the art we have by Marco Caccetto, Billy Tan, and more, it's just really eye-popping. And yes, I said Marco Caccetto. Did you think he first did Daredevil art in the pages of Chip Zdarsky's run? Well, honestly, he did a lot here, and it's amazing to look at, especially as a fan of the Zdarsky-era Daredevil as well. At the end of the omnibus, we also are treated to the most generous portions of extras I think I've ever seen in an omnibus. We not only have some great behind-the-scenes transcribed interviews from Andy Diggle and Billy Tan, but we also have great character breakdown pages, character models, sketches, a great variant cover art gallery, a script for a Daredevil Reborn issue, and so much more. This is honestly, like I said, one of the biggest treasure troves of extras I've ever seen in an omnibus. I absolutely loved it, and honestly, the fact that this was at the end, it really surprised me. There was so much good stuff here. I think if you're a fan of street-level Marvel, as I mentioned earlier in this video, this is another huge perk about this collection. There's extras here I actually haven't ever seen anywhere else. Were they reproduced in other collections? Possibly, but they were new to me, and honestly, I had a blast kind of skimming and making my way through them. And honestly, that's going to do it for my quick overview of the Daredevil Shadowland Omnibus. If you're interested in picking up your own copy, please check out organicpricedbooks.com. And if you want a more full review of this omnibus, please check out my channel, The Comic Book Report, in coming weeks. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good one.